Street Fighter 6's most contentious system mechanic, Drive Rush, just got easier to do a mere week before fighting game's biggest tournament in the world, EVO. The release of the July 24th patch that also includes Season 1's first DLC character, Rashid, Capcom decided that you'll be able to cancel your normals into Drive Rush with Medium Punch and Medium Kick, which is conveniently already a macro for Parry. Yo, it's your boy nugieboy. Today we're going to talk about how this one change completely changes the meta of Street Fighter 6 and how you can use it in your own play. Let's get into the rest of the video, timestamps below. I immediately drew this as a comparison to a game near and dear to my heart, Guilty Gear Strive. Basically, if you land a hit in Strive, you can cancel your move into a Roman cancel. You get this big launching burst and a time stop to extend your combo. The point is, Strive had an RC macro from day one, and it was a very easy and fun way to extend your combos for half a bar a meter. The macro's implementation was a natural and fluid way new fighting game players like myself could extend combos and keep up pressure. Street Fighter 6, on the other hand, did not have this macro on launch. If you don't know how Drive Rush cancels work, basically off of any special cancelable normal, you can cancel the normal with a dash input to get a Drive Rush, which will give you a nice combo on hit or a mix-up opportunity on block, all for the cost of 3 bars of drive gauge. And I know some players find dash inputs a little bit awkward, and also I would go so far as to argue that using a Drive Rush on block is much more powerful than, say, an RC from Strive. RC is tied to your super meter, so you give up a potential super to extend pressure, as opposed to Drive Rush, which is completely separate from your super meter, and it comes back relatively quickly. Also, when you're pressuring your opponent, you're getting rid of their own drive gauge as well as getting back your own. This is an extremely huge change because of how powerful Drive Rush already is, as you basically benefit from using it on hit or block. Now let's talk about how we can use this macro change to enhance our game. And we're going to start with heavy normals. In my opinion, heavy buttons are the least changed. However, I think it's a bit easier to hit confirm as you're not double tapping anymore, which may leave more room for error. Experiment with your character if they have a special cancelable heavy normal, and see if this macro helps you hit confirm into Drive Rush so you can get a full whiff punish. Having a special countable crouching medium kick is an incredibly powerful tool in Street Fighter 6. However, there's been sort of a debate whether or not you can hit confirm crouching medium kick into Drive Rush or even specials. So players would generally just buffer dash behind their crouching medium kick and then confirm whether their Drive Rush was blocked or hit. I think with the addition of the macro, it does make things a bit easier to hit confirm. This means using your drive gauge for guaranteed damage rather than a strike throw mix if you drive rushed on block. I'm very interested to see how higher level players may be able to use the macro changes to better manage their drive gauge and only spend their drive gauge on whiff punishes. And again, experiment with your character and see if you can hit confirm off of your crouching medium kick. On a side note, I still possibly think this is up for debate. It seems like I can do it in training mode, but the macro change hasn't been out for that long, so things might be a little bit different when you take into account being in a real match, you know, mental stack, reaction, yada yada yada. But I am very interested to see how the meta shapes up. Alright, so target combos. This only pertains to you if you have a special cancelable normal into a target combo that is another medium button. So feel free to skip this section if your character doesn't have this or you're not interested. That being said, if your character does have a target combo, you may want to think twice about using the macro as the dash input is still available for you. If your timing is incorrect, you may get the target combo instead of the Drive Rush. Since the macro inputs medium punch and medium kick, the game may read it as either. For example, Manon has this target combo from medium punch, which is also special cancelable, and it's a button I like to buffer my Drive Rush off of. If I'm buffering standing medium punch into the macro to find a whiff, if I mistime the macro, I'll get the target combo instead, which is punishable on block. JP also has a similar problem with his back medium punch. So yeah, check if your character has a target combo into a medium button, and if you're looking to buffer Drive Rush off of this normal, consider using the old dash input since you'll never get the target combo. That being said, getting the Drive Rush is still possible, but I would personally rather have less room for error, so I'm going to be using the dash input specifically for this scenario. Alright, it's time to talk about light normals. This is by far the biggest change to the game, and to give some context, we gotta start with this clip from Street Fighter legend Tokido. In this clip, prior to the patch, Tokido here is buffering all of his standing light punches with a dash buffer so that he would get a Drive Rush. This is extremely hard to whiff punish and it's really good pressure in the corner. But if your inputs weren't clean like Tokido, you would get a dash. So there was a lot of controversy whether or not the macro change would make it so that everybody can do this and never get a dash, which would buff jabs like really tremendously. However, Capcom thought about this, so they made it so that jabs will cancel to DR even on Whiff if you use the macro as well as the old method. This is an extremely huge change because it's basically like using parry drive rush, but you use 3 bars instead of 1. So there's no way to buffer jab into DR on Whiff, as you're just gonna look like a dummy and spend 3 bars for no reason. Or is there? So it seems that there's still a way to do this utilizing Hitstop Option Selects. Shout out to Resident Lab Monster SQ for finding this. SQ has already found 3 option selects that will allow you to never get a drive rush on Whiff. Basically, if you jab into parry immediately, the drive rush will come out on Whiff, but if you slightly delay it, a parry will come out on Whiff. However, if your jab connects with the opponent, because of the added hit stop, the delayed parry will convert into a drive rush. This method obviously uses some drive when you parry, so be careful using this one. The next one shown is jab into throw plus the drive rush macro. This one causes a throw on Whiff or a drive rush if it connects. This one is a bit awkward for me to use, but it doesn't cost drive gauge on Whiff. The next one SQ shows is jab into forward into jab into forward. This one makes a little bit more sense to me than the throw one, since it can be repeated over and over until the jab connects. It's still a little bit tricky, but with some practice you can get it down. If you're interested in using these OSs, pick one that suits you and the situation, and who knows, there might be some more in the future. I just find it interesting that Capcom tried to circumvent this really powerful tool that Tokido showcased, and we were able to find workarounds for it really quickly. So this whole drive rush on Whiff shenanigans got me kind of dooming for a bit, but there's actually another use for this. I'm not sure if they're going to want to keep this, we'll have to see. But a very powerful tool in Street Fighter 6 is a raw drive rush, which costs half a bar of drive gauge to initiate because of parry, and another bar to get the actual drive rush. However, prior to the patch, this tool was not available if you had less than a bar of drive gauge, because a raw drive rush is a 2-step process, part 1 being the actual parry, and part 2 being the actual drive rush. But now with the ability to cancel a jab on Whiff into drive rush, you can use your remaining half a bar of drive gauge to get a drive rush that normally costs 3, and you also need your normal to connect to even do it in the first place. This may open up new combo opportunities as well as the ability to be more efficient with drive gauge in neutral. Yeah, just be careful doing this because obviously it's going to burn you out. So closing thoughts, this small change doesn't fundamentally change the game because all of this was theoretically possible before, but it changes the game in a way that makes the theoretical more possible for players of all skill level, which I think is great for lowering the skill floor so that more players can use this tool. On the other hand, you still require the fundamentals and strong neutral game to find these hits, so I don't think it takes anything away from players who can do the dash input already. If anything, it makes it so that you have to have better neutral so that you don't get whiff punished yourself. And this will also make converting off more awkward normals a lot easier, so more normals become more useful. Honestly, I wonder if down the road, Capcom will just make a raw drive rush macro as well, because doing a parry drive rush is something that takes a little bit of execution to do optimally. If you mess up, you get a dash, and if you hold parry and then mash dash, you spend a bit more drive gauge than you need to. I honestly can't say for certain how or if this would change the game, but I'm certainly interested in seeing how things go in the future of Street Fighter 6. And that's the end of the video. What do you think of this change, and how do you feel about it being so close to Evo? I, for one, am unsure. I got really used to the 6-6 input, and in a way, I'm kind of apprehensive to use it because of the target combo problems. So I'll probably still use the old method for it, but I'll need to experiment some more. Overall, I'm glad it was added for players who found it awkward, and there's still so much more to possibly explore in regards to this change. It's my goal to get good at SF6 and share everything I find useful. So if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. I've been nugieboy, thank you for watching my video, have a good one, and with that, I'm out.